already in there.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
You guys are ready?
Okay, 6:04, we'll call the meeting to order, and we'll start with the pledge of the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, nothing on the public participation sheet. Approval of the minutes from October 13th monthly meeting.
Look, I thought they were like,
Likewise.
I'll make a motion, we approve.
No second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Approval of the meeting for October 17th budget meeting.
Same other one.
I didn't see it. I'll make a motion, we approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, motion passes. Code enforcement report 2025. October 2025, related to draft.
All right, we issued 21 permits for the period. Total construction value of $1,711,345.43. Issued 11 residential building and zoning permits, and 10 non-residential building and zoning permits. 14 building inspections performed, a couple of property maintenance issues and zoning issues. The permit that drove the value up was the Fleetwood Borough Authority, the solar panel installation. That's value of that project is $1,250,000. Number of mechanical permits, zoning permits, then of course solar permits. Seems you can't have a month go past without solar permits anymore. And then also a number of roofs up here.
Why were so many permits canceled?
We've been culling our, going back through and
So those are permits that were issued, but there was no activity?
Correct.
Okay.
And we've been in contact with the applicants and closing to get they didn't do the project, so.
All right.
As far as 604 crisscross should come off. It was out again this past month and the property looks as good as it's been in years. There's just finished product outside. There's no material of any sort outside, which is the way it's supposed to. They did rent another facility somewhere in Kutztown, so that has really helped. So the property,
It was in Fleetwood, I think.
yeah, Fleetwood.
Yeah, it's the old, whatever it was, Merkel.
Where is it?
Merkel. AP Merkel there,
Okay.
isn't it? Right on South Richmond?
I think that's that in my.
Yeah, right at the cookie factory, which is
All right.
a long time ago.
So, like I say, that looks really good. 11 Farmers Drive. I did have a conversation about a week and a half ago with Mark Cuck, who's the attorney for the person that wants to do that truck park over there. Mark and I are on the same page with everything from land development plan on through stormwater and everything that will have to be done there. I told him I had an issue that they did spread some buildings there already, and they have a truck or two parked there, which will have to cease. So I'm relying on Mark at this point in time to get that message across to them. But Mark, I worked with in other municipalities, and he's a good attorney, so I have no issue. I'm glad that I can work with him on it. It'll help things a lot. So that's 11 farmers. There's a property at 1020 Fleetwood Lyons Road. Dwelling in disrepair, high grass and weeds. That seems to have been taken care of. Closing that one. I'm waiting to hear back from property on Forge Hill Road. Had some issues with some properties in Virginville, mostly high grass and weeds. Most of those have been closed. We did have 2 properties that we received applications for the zoning hearing board. One was 194 Masson Church. The other was 10 Ball Field. 10 Ball Field is a plumbing business, but they want to put another use in that same building. It's a very small use for dog grooming. So the permit was denied, and they were both denied, and they're waiting for the date for the zoning hearing board. So that would be 2 hearings that we have to have. Have we heard anything from the attorney yet?
He has 2 dates possible, but he has to reach out to them to see if any of them are gonna work, because he had to reach out to the members first to see if they were available.
Okay. So 1634 Masson Springs Road has been lately just high grass and weeds. That seems to be getting resolved. We do have property out front here. Chris, have you looked into property out front as far as enforcement on that?
I talked to Michelle about it today. They had a conference with the judge, and there was an agreement of terms with regard to everything except the fine. And the attorney for the property owner was supposed to prepare the order to submit to the judge. Well, he did, and then Michelle reviewed it and provided comments back to him, and then it's been sitting. So I don't know if it was maybe affected by the election, that he was sitting on it, I don't know. But bottom line is, it's sitting with the property owner's attorney at the moment. The judge's office did contact Michelle to ask what the status was, because the judge is waiting for this order too.
Okay.
So Michelle explained to the judge's office what was going on. So I'm hoping that the judge can push it a little bit, but that's where it is. So I frankly don't expect the property owner to comply with the terms of that proposed order until that order is issued.
And so there's nothing I should be doing at this point in time till that
Not
order is
yet.
issued.
All right, but, I'm hopeful that any excuses for delay have now expired and that it'll move forward.
Okay.
But I mean, our recourse, because this is still pending before the judge, is to just ask the judge to reschedule at least a conference or something to make the property owner's attorney come talk to the judge again. Anyway, so that's where it is.
All right. Just wanted to, looking at the report, the property on Saucony Road that we've been having issues with it washing out, 1432. Just to give you an idea how the courts can work, we issued the citations for that 10/25/24. They were taken to the judge on 11/4, it looks like. And to date, a year later, the defendant still has not been properly served. So I don't know if they,
Is this somebody who has no permanent address or?
no, they've got a permanent address. It's a very rough address, but it's a permanent address. said one up on top of the hill on Saucony Road.
Well, we could attempt to do service ourselves. We could get we could get somebody to serve it. I mean, I assume are they doing mail service or are they trying to do personal service?
I don't know what they typically do. Was it personal service?
Well, I mean, typically, if somebody has to pick up the mail, then they would attempt some kind of personal service. Let me look into that. What's the address on that one?
32.
1432 Saucony Road. That's all I have.
Okay.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay.
SEO report for October 2025 from LTL. There's not much on there. Chris, should we accept these reports? I don't remember.
You don't need a motion, it's okay.
Police report.
Good evening. Police report for October 2025, 200 incidents in Richmond, 35 crash investigations, 12 traffic citations issued, 3 criminal arrests, took 10 reportable crimes, 37 vehicle stops, 62 hours of criminal investigations follow-up, and 6 hours of court time. We took reports for thefts, frauds, drug delivery offense, attempted kidnapping that occurred during an active domestic, a weapons offense, disorderly conduct, harassment, and a PF5 violation. I believe arrests were made a good portion of those. And the other thing I have is that I open up applications for full-time employment. That's all I have. Do you have any questions?
Quick question for you.
Yes.
When you have an accident out on 222 or 662, who makes the call on the detours?
It's hard to say. I mean, it could be usually a fire police. Sometimes we will. It just depends on the circumstance and where it's at.
Because it's, sometimes when the amount of traffic that's there. And I just think that sometimes they have to think wisely when they detour all that truck traffic. Because a lot of times they bring them back like onto School Road. It's virtually impossible to make the cut to come back to School Road from Shirley. I had multiple people question me because we had a pretty active accident time out the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And everybody says, what's going on here? Because of course they take it right past their place and everything backs up. But it's going to back up regardless.
Yeah.
I just think that I didn't know who made that call as to.
Yeah, and honestly, it depends. It depends on how many, how much personnel we have to push around. Because what happens sometimes, the intention may be to send them one way.
I think
Well,
another way.
GPS nowadays, boy, they put it in, and these truck drivers and cars alike, they just take whatever road and they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. So I can tell you and the fire police for the area do a great job, but you only have so many.
Yep.
So we try to get them to what we think would be the best route, and then people just start splitting off, trying to beat traffic. I don't know, the accident we had in the bypass was an absolute mess. Because we had multiple, we had the bypass shut down, and then we had Christown Road, the ramp shut down, and we ended up shutting it down, I think, at the roundabout. And it was a mess. I mean, there was just nowhere to put these people, nowhere to send them. And what happened was, the idea was to send them down 662 and maybe out Fleetwood Lines Road out, stay on state, but they start branching off. And it just becomes a mess.
I was just curious because I had been questioned about it. And I wasn't pointing the finger or anything. I was
No, I
just curious as to who makes that call.
Yeah, and And almost always we get a truck that gets stuck somewhere
Oh, everything.
or something, and we honestly try to do the best we can with it.
Yep.
It's just
I believe it.
people do their own thing, and it's hard to control that with only so many people.
Yeah. Unless you actually shut down those roads, they're
Yeah.
gonna take it anyway, so.
Right. And then again, you're back to having enough people to do it.
Exactly.
So we continue to try to do the best we can with it. We know how bad it gets. The truck traffic
Well,
and the
that
backups.
was an exception there, when you
Yeah.
had one, you know, the bypass there,
Yeah, that really causes all kinds of problems
and it was long,
most of the day.
yeah. Just gives you an idea how much traffic is on that road,
Sure does, very quickly.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, well, sure.
Okay, discussion of the County of Berks Department of Emergency Services run cards. In the past, the fire companies and the ambulance service are in charge of the run cards. I would like to change the run cards for the fire service back that Richmond Township has to sign off. Not that those guys can't make the decisions. I just don't want the run cards changing without proper notification. It happened a couple weeks ago with Walnut made some changes and we got some backlash from the community and I had no idea. I just think we're gonna put another step in the process. I don't wanna be in charge of making up the run cards, but I wanna know what's happening before it happens. If it's a change that is unwarranted, we should know about it. So we're in charge of the run cards. We have responsibility of them. I think I would like to change it back, that someone signs off. I think the most consistent would be our secretary treasurer. She could at least see them, notify us, and then sign off on them. So,
I don't know exactly by what process that was put into effect. I don't know if there was a resolution or just a motion. And I also don't know exactly who needs to be notified. I'm assuming that the county communications center is somehow the depository of these decisions about run cards, and there ought to be notification of them. So
on my research, County of Berks send a letter with this form.
okay, so you've already looked at it.
Yep. And a letter from the Board of Supervisors originally.
Okay.
So it ran through the board, delegating the decisions to the fire companies. We run it through the board again, my understanding, and fill out this form, send it to them. That will be suffice. Do you want time to check it out?
No, I trust you for what you have already investigated. Now, was there one form for all emergency services? or-
Two forms. Fire service, ambulance.
Okay. And are you bringing back all of it?
Just the fire service right now,
Okay.
first crack.
Okay. I recommend a motion to carry out what you just described.
Make a motion to have us sign off on the run cards. Change of authorization form, and I'm gonna make the secretary treasurer in charge of the signing off. She can notify us, but that way it doesn't, if the board changes, that way we have consistency. It's just, I want to be aware before it happens. So, any discussion?
As I said, I'll second.
Fire companies understand, we discussed it before. This is my feeling, so. All in favor, aye? Aye. Motion passes. We'll have to fill one out then, Jen.
Yeah, with corrected information.
Virginville Fire Company report, anything to add?
No, nothing else to add tonight.
And a motion to approve the fire truck payment. I'll make that motion.
Awesome.
All in favor? Aye. Only time, do you have a report? You want to just bring it up here? And we'll enter it right into the.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, any questions on that? Did Top give you the lifeline or Top in any reports?
Neither one of them did before the meeting.
Okay. Discuss the preliminary budget before approved advertising. You guys have any questions?
Pretty much the way we discussed it.
So a couple things I just wanted to go over. We get half of 1% earned income tax and half of the real estate transfer tax. 2.5 mils real estate tax, $1 per week local service taxes, and 1 mil fire tax. 80-cent frontage per foot light tax millage, and the sewer rate is, all those have stayed the same. We're not changing any of that. The sewer rate per quarter, correct me if I'm wrong, were we at 223 or 222?
222 right now.
222, that's going up to 225 per EDU per quarter. That's the only increase for the budget. Things were pretty well in line with last year's budget. We did have an increase. I'm going to call it a more than 3% increase, probably an 8%, 7 to 8% increase for the police protection, due to the fact of, trying to get part-time help has been a challenge, so they're going to add a full-time position to offset that in this time when police help is challenging. So that's the largest increase, and that's the largest line item budget for our budget, so it's a substantial increase. We are not gonna raise taxes. We still have a fund balance. So we're gonna, the difference we're gonna take from that to balance the budget. But this year there will be no tax increases. So our receipts, our projected receipts, and I think they come in a little higher than this, but this is conservative, is $1,683,582,000. And our expenditures projected for 26 is 2.1 million. So it's quite the gap. At some point, we're gonna have to address it, either increase tax, or discuss expenditures, but that's where we're at now to keep everything the same. And we feel police and protection is important. So we're okay with that increase. But we'll look at it every year in the budget. So I make a motion that we advertise the proposed budget as listed here. Make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, I don't see any old business. Engineers report.
The first item there is the Willow Crest development. The short answer is they were supposed to turn the lights on today, and they say there was some kind of weather reason they didn't do it. It was cloud, I think it was in Willow Crest, but so Jen is pushing as hard as she can, both for Grande, but it's really mostly the power company right now. So
Everything's ready to go except the power company has to energize.
yeah,
Is that what
there
I'm
was
saying?
a hold up on Grande's end of, they had to do a directional bore because there was a conduit and they had issues with trying to get that done and not disturb driveways. But there was a bit of a delay to finally get them to do that. They did it. And then Meta's just been kind of dragging their feet to get out there and then canceled it. So,
Well, from what I understand, Mario said that they were there this morning.
oh, I thought he said they didn't see him, but
They were there, but Mario had to leave. He says, it's not the end of the day. Hopefully I can go back and they'll be energized. And then the other gentleman, Mr. Stango, had emailed me and said because of the wind and power outages elsewhere, they could not complete it. So we are going to be put back on the list. There'll be a schedule and then we'll notify me, let me know what date that will be.
So will someone be there when they energize it?
That I don't
Said
know.
Mario, who's Mario?
the Grande, he's the one from Grande that's
Right.
kind of,
Oh, so
I asked him to notify me as soon as he has the actual date, tentative date, weather permitting, that it's going to be done, so I can alert everybody else to let them know it's gonna happen.
but with that said, they're gonna be looking for, well, the lights will go on, that's the big thing finally, but then we'll be looking at, I just asked Chris if we could try to sit down and go over a few things with Grande to come into the next meeting, hopefully, and have this ready to go. But that would be the discussion for the dedication of the streets. As far as punch list items, like any kind of construction items, there really weren't any for the street specifically. The open space, the conservation district did get back about approving some of the, I'd say changes, but it's a little bit for the open grading that we asked them to do in addition. They are generally okay with what we talked about, with the exception of some of the additional parking we're hoping to kind of get done in this phase over near the school. It's outside of what this project is, and once it was on paper, they weren't really open to approving all of it, but they did say there's a portion of it that they're okay with, just add it in when they do the construction. But because the whole NPDS, the permitting for the project is in Grande's name, they have to transfer most of it to the HOA, but then a portion of it to the township and have it in their name since they're taking on that property. And some of those steps is part of what Grande wants to talk about with the.
Are they gonna do the work before or after the township takes it?
The agreement said before, they had a request to do, like, switch that, switch the order. I feel like it could be done in the agreement to still be able to achieve what you wanted, that there's not anything complete
Well,
until the
part of my
township takes over.
concern was liability and permitting is another factor now. Um, If they were to indemnify the township and provide some proof of insurance, saying that the township is an additional insured, I would be okay with them doing the work after the township took it. But that's up to the board of supervisors. And as far as permitting, I mean, doesn't that shift responsibility to us? So we would need them to indemnify us from any permit responsibility as well. So,
Associated with closing the permit.
yeah, well, yeah, I mean, but I guess I'm thinking during the course of the work, it will be inspected and there will be compliance measurements by conservation district.
Correct.
And, you know, I want Grande to be on the hook for that, not the township.
Yeah, I would agree. So and that's part of where that's where I wanted Chris involved, and they agreed that it would be better that we all sit down just to kind of go through those steps, because it's a aspect of this that I don't think we completely understood until we talked to the conservation district about it. But I still think they need to, I think before the dedication is complete, their end of the permitting requirements need to be finalized. I think eventually the permit does have to be transferred, at least partially.
Yeah,
to the
just for
township.
closure, I mean, I understand that part, but I would much prefer that they had done the work before it's dedicated.
Sure sounds like would be cleaner.
Yeah, and the conservation district is okay with the plan that we have moving forward, that it kind of agrees with the plan that Robbie had laid out there, at least putting in the stone for the parking area, grading out the field so it's even, and some of the other parking area. But once they started requesting that changes to the agreement of anything completed, I wasn't gonna go there without Chris reviewing that. He was open to sitting down and going through it, so.
Yeah, I mean, what's the urgency of transferring it? I mean, they've been dragging their feet on doing the work that we requested.
They extended the permit at the beginning of the year. So by extending it, there's several years here where there's not really urgency.
So
It's still
why
running.
don't they just do the work and then we accept it after they're done with the work? I mean, I'd like to get it from them too. I'd like to finish the transfer, but I also think it's,
How about
we're gonna get the work done.
I will propose that in an email saying, here's the steps that we discussed. If you want to meet, still meet.
Yeah, I mean, I
think
don't
this is
know,
the
does the
request.
board have any input on this? Do you have any preference?
My preference would be that Rondé completes everything that they committed to, because it's gonna be a tangled mess. If, you know,
Makes it complicated.
it does. Now, is that gonna delay things? Probably. But I would.
We don't have any control over them doing the work anyway. I mean, we could take dedication and still sit and wait for them.
I think it's more okay to just wait till it's complete.
Yeah, I think
I
so.
don't think it's a lot of work that they have to do, just get it done.
Just gotta get it done.
Yeah.
They're not making any money off of this project. It's an expense to them.
Yeah, at this point. Okay, I'll send that to them, but I mean, we weren't really pushing the vacation to the streets either until the lights went on, so it wasn't. We have
What's the sense
those,
of urgency anymore?
Well, the roads, you know, the time, well, winter maintenance is the only issue with the roads now. Is if they dedicate them, township has winter maintenance.
and we have, I can throw together what that number is. This is very close to what they did on another project
Or
recently.
Will they pay us for what we should have gotten in liquid fuels tax?
I believe that, and to be honest with you, I think it's gonna be for the year around $4,000 is what, assuming those roads are close to, or just less than a mile.
Well, I would
That's about what the
recommend
number
that
is.
if Grande is willing to pay something of that type that you consider accepting just to make sure your residents are
They're getting
not
fed up.
going to complain? Yeah. Because I think
They're getting fed up with the lights.
it'd be good to
The
see a
roads.
township truck on the road. And hopefully the lights will be on.
I hope.
It's
Yeah, I've never seen it take so long.
It's weird. I think
Yeah.
that is hard to deal with, but I don't know that Grundy has been helping matters.
Yeah, I've seen delays on both sides. And that there was, yeah. But, wish there was more on that one. The solar farm, they're basically, the conservation district admitted that they got the grass to grow in the areas that they wanted to see grow. However, there was processing of final changes that they made that they said, we're not gonna close out your permit until the spring, so it does give us the chance to kind of monitor and see how the pond works. I need to coordinate with the property owner to be able to get in there when it's a rainy day. They told me that the day of the rainy day, so it didn't really occur, but they did send some pictures. It does look like that restricting plate, that weir that they put on there, on the one rain we had probably about 2 weeks ago, was pretty decent. It did fill up to about the top of that plate, so it is working where it's holding water to a point and holding that back more than it was before.
Does it hold it back all the way to the railroad?
No. It didn't look like it was going back that far, but there is still quite a bit of grass up there right now, so it's hard to see. Hopefully we'll be able to
Maybe
see
it's
it.
the heavier rain involved.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
the
we
top of
really
the
haven't
plates.
had a gully washer.
No.
The top of the plate's not the top of the thing.
The top of the plate's about the top of the pipe, so that thing's about 18 inches.
Right, so you still have 18 inches to go.
It was close to the top of that one. It was that was a pretty steady rain for about a day, but not significant
A
compared
4-incher though.
No. So,
That's where you're gonna see the effect of that, really.
yeah, we'll have to, well, we're not looking to move on the escrow until the spring on that, simply because they didn't move on the conservation district in fast enough. So there is still the final escrow payment and close out in the spring, and we'll do another walkthrough with Robbie and check that out. And they did get back to us on Mertz Road about closing out that permit, but it really wasn't a very solid answer, so I think they're putting together just a response on what they believe they did and an offering of what they think they can compensate for whatever damage, but
What damage is
they just, during construction, they didn't access that road from one spot.
I know what you're talking about.
It's kind of an ongoing, but we did have a site meeting with them in the past, it's probably the last month. But they're,
I think they have to bear responsibility.
they were trying to find a way to pass the buck a little bit. But it was- So, unless there's any questions on those, that's all I
Well,
have.
this, First Amendment to contribution agreement to wrap up the over cost on the road work, I guess it was. Is that what they're- Anyway, I just wanted to see, has the board acted on this? And if not, we should consider an approval of this.
They have not had the one that was just sent over.
All right.
I didn't really have that on the agenda.
Well, the topic is on the agenda.
No, that's fine.
So, I'd like to, they haven't paid this yet, so
Not yet.
they're waiting for us to
Mhm.
approve it. Probably cost $1,100 to draft this First Amendment document. It would be appropriate, in my opinion, for the board to approve this so that the township will be reimbursed for that $1,100 overrun on the cost. And that was on
So that was when they were fixing Weaver Road,
Weaver Road, yeah.
when they went to take out that pipe, it was pretty ugly underneath, and Robbie had seen it, but they had to do a little extra cutting and adding stone, and it basically ran with that an additional $1,100 that you just couldn't assume was in that cost until they did the work.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept
I'll second.
All in favor?
All right, thank you.
The only other item I was gonna add was there is a plan right now at I'll call it the Walbert's property, but they had a subdivided lot along the frontage, kind of shared driveway going in, small business that might be in and out in one planning commission at the next meeting. Pretty straightforward. That's a
Using
planning
existing driveways.
It's a shared driveway coming off of Walbert's, which they had shown on their original plan.
It was like a few months ago, probably that.
Yeah,
Yeah, they presented it to us.
the thought was there might be two businesses or buildings that go in there. It's just one single office. It's very minimal as far as what's gonna be generated off that property, but
Is it, do they need any HOP or anything?
looking for them to show that they have had that communication with them. But again, the added traffic it's gonna be very minimal for the use. But just an update that's gonna be coming down the road. That's it for me, unless there's any questions.
What about the data center?
Oh, did we,
Can the break return?
okay. So the data center, we provided that draft ordinance at the last meeting. And this didn't get updated for the township's zoning districts. I think in just talking with Jeff about this, that typically when something like this would come through, this is the industrial district and or the light, probably either just the industrial and the light industrial, which is generally the same vicinity in the township, but this basically provided a template from the PSATs, put on a webinar that basically said, this is coming, here's some sample language that you could use. They also had other examples of different places that had been, put them in place. We basically took that and created this ordinance. And with the exception of adding in a different zoning district, it's pretty straightforward. Just to point out that this one has a maximum height of 80 feet. These things are not usually as big as a warehouse as far as square footage, but they usually start at 70 feet or they went up to 120 feet or some places. But it seems like 80 was the pretty typical limit that a lot of places were putting when they started an ordinance. I think the 120 is really only seen in the higher density areas like Virginia outside of DC or.
Where they go up instead of out.
Yeah, but this creates a lot of, it has some of the dimensional regulations, some of the studies, additional access that's created. Towards the end of it, it gets into the required studies they need for electrical, water.
Township would have to determine what zoning district it would be allowed and by what procedure, by right, by special exception, by conditional use. So those are zoning issues that would also need to be addressed.
To that point, this really allowed it by right, simply because this municipality just had a location that they knew it was only gonna fit in and just put the conditions on there and just wanted to kind of get it through. But I don't know, Chris, if you have a recommendation one way or another, if you special exception or conditional use, but.
It's gonna be a headache, regardless. I mean, I think that out of respect for the residents, there ought to be a hearing process, either a special exception before the zoning hearing board or conditional use hearing before the board of supervisors. I think zoning hearings in general should go to the zoning hearing board. But in some cases, municipalities choose to identify certain uses as conditional uses so that the board of supervisors sits as the hearing board for the zoning decision. And typically, those conditional uses are things that are of a more impactful effect on the community, landfills, things that, could really change the character of the community. I don't know if you would want to classify it that way or not. It's a policy decision for you. If you have the hearing in front of the Board of Supervisors, you must maintain neutrality of the project. If you have it as a special exception and the hearing is in front of the zoning hearing board, the Board of Supervisors would have more flexibility to take a position and to advocate that position, potentially by having the solicitor attend the zoning hearing and take a position. So I don't know how you feel about this particular use. I think it's a good idea to put it in the ordinance and regulate it. I think you're in a better position to manage the potential impacts if you have regulations on the books. Some people worry that if you advertise an ordinance to create this type of regulation, it must mean that the Board of Supervisors have already been paid off to allow the use. There's all kinds of paranoid reactions that occur when you advertise an ordinance. I don't agree with that, obviously. I think that it's better for the community to have regulations to be on top of it. Because in the absence of any regulations, there's a risk that your ordinance could be found to be exclusionary, and then the developer gets to draft the regulations and shove them down your throat. So it is definitely better to have regulations on the books.
I think at the same point, what I think we've seen is the board being proactive in picking the area where it's most appropriate, as opposed to Chris saying they come in with that exclusionary claim and then it could possibly go anywhere. So truly for the residents, it's trying to get ahead of not having that occur, as opposed to what.
Yeah, you want to protect as much of the township as you can. And, typically stuff like this, you look to see if you have an industrial, commercial zone where it might be appropriate. You need to have a place where it could actually occur, though. You can't have a de facto exclusionary ordinance, and what I mean by that is you can't say it's allowed, but put it in a location where it is impossible to build it, and that makes your ordinance de facto exclusionary, and that's just as bad as prohibiting the use from a legal standpoint.
Makes sense.
Yep.
If you're interested in moving forward with this, you might want to send this draft regulation to the planning commission and ask the planning commission to make a recommendation back to the board. Or if you'd rather work on this yourselves before it goes to the planning commission, that's another option.
We should probably clean it up and then send it.
Yeah, that's what I think too. We'll go over it, come up with a final document, send it to the planning commission, and come back and
See what they do with it.
see what they do with it.
As Chris was saying, I think the two big ones are what district you want it to go in and by what means, the right conditional use or special exception. I did not have, and this is just by default of the one I stole from, the definition for data centers in here, so I can forward that along. It was just in a separate section and didn't include it. And there was another, I just had it up, but the definition of data center and then data center equipment and accessory. So those two items, I'll forward those just so that's along with it. But
But the issues that I'm aware of are water, noise, and electricity being available. So, those are each addressed in this draft, so I think it covers the main points.
The other thing I can do, and not to drown you with information, but the additional pieces of information and samples that came with that PSATS webinar, kind of do a file dump of that stuff for you guys, just to nitpick and go through and see if there's different parts of it, because some of them get a little deeper into the electric, some of them get into the water as well, but there might be something in there that you see that wasn't in their typical template, but maybe it is something you want to kind of pick out and add to it, so.
Yeah, I've done a lot of reading on it, so I have a little bit of background.
There's a lot of,
I think that, I think we're gonna be exposed to it at some point. I don't know if it's the ideal area, but I still like to get in front of it a little bit.
well, there seems to be a lot of interest in Pennsylvania.
And,
So there's, a lot of centers around the state that are being talked about as possibilities. There's certainly a lot of money being thrown at it.
yeah, it's real. It really is. Do you have this available electronically?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Jen had provided it there. I will send that to you and add the definitions at the top
Perfect.
and just highlight some of those areas.
That makes it easier.
Need to be switched. As far as the other topic there, the brake retarders, some of this, Brian, we just touched on a little bit, but I did get a follow-up from PennDOT since the last meeting, was by an email that the big restricting factor on adding that brake retarder restriction is it can't be 55 mile per hour or greater as far as that stretch you're looking at. So it really eliminates 222 through the township. Now, I think the Fleetwood Lions Road, some of that might be lower than 55. I don't know if that's the area you want to look at,
Yeah,
but
You got the Beavers.
that's 55 out there too.
I was right too. I thought that might be. So, yeah, that's, the grade can't be more than 4%, and the speed limit can't be 55 or greater.
Well, the grade's not an issue, but the speed limit.
And asking, what I asked PennDOT just to confirm, is that really a final item, that once you have that, it's a no, and they said yes, because then you're getting into a safety issue with transit restricted. So,
All right.
Thanks for the update.
yeah.
Okay, delinquent sewer report.
There's only one on here that I would like to draw your attention to, and that's account number 2099. We had a judgment on that, and the board decided not to go to a sheriff's sale on personal property because we didn't think there was anything really valuable to be had. But that was a year ago. And now, there was a payment plan, but we haven't gotten paid in almost a year. Because we are now 4 quarters at least further behind, you may want to consider authorizing us to file another DJ complaint to try to push them, and we could, get that additional judgment for the new amount. And, hypothetically, it could put some pressure on them because they'll have to attend a court hearing. Obviously they can take it under default judgment if they choose to, but it would at least get them thinking about this again. And I'd like to do something to try to push this particular delinquency. It's the, largest one we have right now that doesn't seem to be getting better.
I make a motion. All in favor?
All right, we'll do that. Then the next thing is the proposed cable television agreement. And you presently have which service?
Service Electric.
Service Electric. Okay. So we have an existing Service Electric contract. Comcast has the right to come in and compete with Service Electric. In my opinion, the terms of the Service Electric agreement should be at least as good as what you're getting from Service Electric. If you don't require Comcast to at least match the Service Electric terms, Comcast has a right, Service Electric has a right to come back and ask to have the agreement made more lenient down to what you are accepting from Comcast. So this comparison chart that we prepared shows the draft from Comcast next to the Richmond Service Electric terms. And to the extent that any of them are inferior on the Comcast agreement, and several of them are inferior. For example, just starting with the first page with audit rights, if there's any deficiency in the payments that are identified through an audit process, Service Electric is agreeing to pay interest on that delinquency. And what this means is if we suspected that the cable company was not paying us all of the fees that they're required to, we would have the right to initiate an audit process. I certainly think there should be interest on a delinquency. Frankly, I'm not sure we would ever practically do this, but for purposes of the agreement, I would like it to be as strong as possible for the township position. So that would be an example where I would want I would want Comcast to match the Service Electric term. Another thing is the line extension. We have a commitment from Service Electric that if there's a certain density of residences within a mile, that they agree they will build more lines. Now, we don't have a ton of home construction in the township. There's none on the horizon that I'm aware of. But nevertheless, if there were an area of the township that has a new home or two that's built and that triggers this standard, Service Electric would have to build a line at Service Electric's expense. Comcast should at least match that. So anyway, those are all the things, and it's similar with the remaining terms that they should at least match the Service Electric terms. One thing that is not included in the Service Electric here in the township, but is included in some of the other municipalities' agreements, excuse me, is an annual reporting about how many subscribers they have, whether they've had any complaints, and if they did, how they responded to those complaints, whether they've had service outages, what is their performance record. I think we should require them to do that here. Service Electric is not up for renewal, but I think we should ask Comcast to do that. And when Service Electric comes up, we should try to add that. Excuse me. Anyway, is it agreeable to the board that we ask for all of these things to be upgraded in the Comcast draft to at least match Service Electric, and where we think there is improvement, that we would ask to go beyond the Service Electric.
You say we ask for as much as we can.
I agree.
Okay.
Make it equal or better.
The irony of this is, they're doing this to sell internet access. This agreement is about cable television. Cable television is a dying service. So this agreement is basically gonna hopefully generate some revenue through Comcast extension of service. But there's a good chance that most of their new customers are gonna be internet only, and we don't get anything from internet service. The federal law that enables us to enter into these franchise agreements only applies to cable television, does not apply to internet service. Okay, so are we good to go?
Yep.
We'll proceed with those negotiations with Comcast.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay, Stackback Engineering, he had requested last month, they need to upgrade the Omni-Site monitoring device. Did you review it? Did you have any questions?
I looked it over. I don't see a reason why we shouldn't do it. I mean, look, the old one was a 17 years or something. Didn't know it doesn't seem to be outrageously priced. But it's a pretty important feature in the system.
Yeah, I agree. I make a motion that we approve the quote.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, no miscellaneous business. Roadmasters report, anything to add, Robbie?
Not specifically, no.
Election day, you get to see more of the residents than normal. 99% more. Now, Wabbit compliments on the road crew. I wanted to pass that on to you.
Thank you.
And a nice horse and buggy tie-up out there in case I switch modes. Methods of
We've been
transportation.
wanting to do that for a long time. We just never,
It's very,
never did it.
it's very professional looking. I like the lights. Okay, treasurer's report, payment of the bills.
Okay, in the general fund, we have check numbers 12148 to 12178, including EFTs for $147,081.98.
I'll make a motion with that.
All in favor? Aye.
State fund, we didn't have any checks. Light fund, there were no checks. Sewer fund, check numbers 3365 to 3367, including EFTs for $34,387.47.
I'll make a motion with that. I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Walnut Town Fire Escrow, check number 2198 for $1,005.50.
I'll make a motion with that. I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Virginville Fire Escrow, check numbers 2202 and 2203 for $21,983.87.
And I'll make a motion with that. I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
As we had discussed in the budget meeting, we do have some sale of the one truck that we had and the trailer that was just sold to Fleetwood. We have an amount of $41,048 that is currently in the general fund, which I believe is 2.9% interest every month. With the board's approval, I would like to move the funds over to the equipment, the capital reserve fund, which has 4.9% interest. So if we happen to purchase a vehicle in the next few years, that amount will grow by 4.9% monthly instead of the 2.9% that's in the general fund.
I'll make a motion to do that.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Question, Jen?
Yes.
Why is this a purchase instead of sale?
My title. That is all I have.
Chairman's report, you guys have anything?
Other than the fact that Rob and I will be meeting with urban engineers on Wednesday to discuss the maintenance agreements for the new 222 upgrade. See exactly what the timetable is of that, and how far they pushed it back. We'll see.
I would like to just thank everybody that came out and voted. Currently, I'm ahead by 1 vote. I think they certified that this week. So we'll see, but it did bring to light, being that close in the township. I'm not sure that we're getting the message out on how good of a job this township does. The opposing candidate can send out letters that are inaccurate and misleading. There's nothing really to counteract that unless the candidate running is sending our message. And it's a shame because we do a lot of good things in this township for minimal amount. And it's not minimal, but I think maybe we should somehow down the road think about a newsletter to get the message out. You know, just like the budget, just like the equipment we do, the roads we maintain. I know it's an expense, but just my opinion, we're kind of missing the boat, I think, I think if the facts were out there, and it's all public knowledge, people just don't take the time to research it, and then someone puts something in front of them that I think personally was largely inaccurate. And you can see by the results. I think if people had the accurate information, we'd continue this township the way it is, but we're in jeopardy of some major changes. Just my opinion to consider down the road.
I know the Fleetwood organization does have that flyer that gets mailed to everybody, but that includes all other townships as well as ours. So I think probably a separate one just saying this is what we do here.
I think Main Creek puts one out.
I've seen the Main Creek one.
Yeah. Yeah, Maiden Creek I don't think does anything with the Fleetwood organization. They kind of keep their own flyer.
I think there would be some value
I think so too.
seeing what we went through,
See that.
seeing what I went through here with the election.
Okay.
It was very disheartening to see all the disinformation. And standing out front there and trying to argue it is too late.
Right.
People come the other mind made up, and I don't want to get into an argument with another candidate. It's just not very professional. So thank you everyone for who came out to vote. Either way, I mean, that's your civic duty. You got to participate if you want say. So beyond that, I have nothing else. Any public participation from the floor? No, then I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll say.
All in favor?
Did PennDOT come out and say that they are delayed more than they planned, or you just anticipate them saying we're behind schedule?
Well, they won't wrap it.
We need to go to vote.
I guess
They were supposed to start construction.
again, that probably how it should have started. I didn't know when you were